They thought he was just another forgotten man, a nameless vagrant, a nobody. They had no idea what they were waking up. For years, Nathan Cross stayed in the shadows, a ghost in a city that didn't care. He wasn't lost. He was choosing to disappear, choosing peace. But one night, they made a mistake. 4 corrupt cops, a beating for sport, a homeless man humiliated. They laughed as they kicked his bag into the gutter. They smirked as they crushed the only things he had left. They grinned as they walked away, thinking it was over. They were wrong. Because Nathan Cross doesn't forget, he doesn't forgive, and the muscle memory never faded. By the time they realize what's coming, it'll be too late. The city is about to drown in blood. Because Nathan isn't hiding anymore. Now, it's their turn to run. The rain never stops in this city. It beats against glass and steel, turning the streets into rivers of neon reflections. It seeps into the cracks of old pavement, washes away footprints, and drowns out whispered regrets. Under the sagging awning of a 24-hour diner, Ethan Graves sits, motionless. A cup of coffee, cold, untouched. His fingers rest against the paper, but he doesn't drink. He just listens. The rhythm of the rain, the hum of passing cars, the city breathing around him. And then, headlights pierce the downpour. A patrol car slows to a stop. 2 more pull in behind it. Ethan doesn't move. Detective Marcus Boyd steps out first. Broad frame, a practiced sneer. He moves like a man who thinks he owns the night. Behind him, his men, 3 uniforms, laughing under their breath. They think this is just another routine stop, another nobody to shove out of the way. Boyd rolls his shoulders, takes a few slow steps forward. His boots splash through the puddles. "Look what we've got here," he muses, voice thick with amusement. "A little out of place, aren't you?" Ethan says nothing. Boyd watches him for a beat. His expression flickers. Annoyance, maybe even curiosity. Then he steps closer. "You deaf?" Still, Ethan doesn't respond. That's when Boyd's patience runs out. The first shove comes easy, a casual act of dominance. Ethan barely sways. The second comes harder, Boyd's palm flat against his shoulder, forcing him back against the diner wall. Nothing. No reaction. And that's what makes them mad. The punch lands against his ribs, a quick, sharp jab meant to break something. A knee to his stomach follows, just to drive the point home. Ethan folds forward but doesn't fall. He just counts. 1, 2, 3. Boyd shakes out his hand, his face twisting into something between boredom and irritation. He looks down at Ethan's feet, notices the old duffel bag tucked under the chair. He kicks it. The zipper gives way, spilling its contents into the rain. A toothbrush. A paperback novel, water-stained and worn at the edges. A photograph, its colors fading. And then, dog tags. Boyd crouches, picks them up, turns them over in his palm. His lips curl into a smirk as he reads the inscription. "Well, well," he murmurs. "What do we have here?" The squad leans in. One of them chuckles. "A war hero," Boyd drawls, spinning the tags between his fingers. "Guess they don't give parades to guys like you anymore, huh?" Ethan finally looks up. It's subtle. The shift in his posture. The way his shoulders roll back just slightly. But his eyes? His eyes tell a different story. There's no anger in them. No fear. Just something cold. Something final. "You should put those back," he says. Boyd laughs. And then, he drops them into a puddle. Lets the rain carry them into the gutter. Ethan doesn't move. Doesn't speak. But inside? Inside, something is shifting. The old instincts, the ones he spent years trying to bury, start clawing their way to the surface. The countdown has begun. By the time they realize it, it'll already be too late. The fluorescent lights hum, casting a sickly glow over the holding cell. Ethan Graves sits perfectly still, back straight, hands resting on his knees. The dried blood on his temple cracks slightly as he blinks. But inside, he's already calculating. Every guard rotation, every blind spot, every way out. Across the precinct, Detective Jason Wyatt leans forward, staring at his computer screen. His pulse hammers against his ribs. The screen flashes red. "Classified. Level 5. Clearance required." "What the hell?" Wyatt swallows, rubbing his palm against his chest like it might stop his heart from racing. He's been a cop long enough to know what Level 5 means. It means this man isn't supposed to exist. His fingers hover over the keyboard. His gut is telling him to back away, to shut the file, walk out of the station, and forget he ever saw the name Ethan Graves. But then, his phone rings. An unknown number. Wyatt hesitates. Then he answers. This is Wyatt. A crisp, authoritative voice cuts through the line. Detective Wyatt, this is Colonel Briggs. You have a problem. Wyatt's throat goes dry. Sir, Release him. Now. Wyatt looks up, through the glass partition. In the holding cell, Ethan hasn't moved, hasn't spoken. But somehow, he already knows. Wyatt lowers his voice. Sir, I don't understand. Who the hell is this guy? A beat of silence. Then, the last man you ever want to cross. Wyatt's gut knots. But before he can respond, the line goes dead. He stares at the phone for a long moment, every instinct screaming at him. He should listen. He should let this man go. But then, Detective Marcus Boyd steps into the room. A cocky grin, a steaming coffee in his hand. He's already heard about the database flag, about the call from high up, and he doesn't care. Let me guess, Boyd smirks. Some government spook just told you to let the scary homeless guy walk? Wyatt hesitates. It wasn't just any spook, Marcus. It was a colonel, a level 5 clearance order. Boyd laughs. Loud, dismissive. Yeah? So what? You really think some bureaucrat 1,000 miles away gives a damn what happens to some washed-up vet? Wyatt clenches his jaw. I think we might be in over our heads. Boyd scoffs. Nah, I think he's a nobody, and I think he's gonna rot in that cell till I say otherwise. Across the city, crime lord Richard Vale stares at his phone. His breath catches in his throat. The name on the screen burns into his vision like a nightmare he thought he'd outrun. Ethan Graves. No, he whispers. Not possible. Not him. Not the man who once burned entire empires to the ground. Not the ghost they swore was buried. He swipes the screen, dialing his head of security with shaking fingers. Find out where he is, he orders. And kill him. A pause. Sir, do it now. Vale lowers the phone. His pulse pounds against his skull, because he knows the deadliest man to ever walk these streets is awake, and there's only one way this ends. The station doors slide open, and Ethan Graves steps into the night, free. The rain has stopped, but the city still hums with restless energy. Neon lights flicker in puddles. Headlights carve through the darkness. Ethan walks, unhurried, unseen, unstoppable. Across the city, Detective Marcus Boyd is drinking. He sits alone in his dimly lit apartment, the bottle of whiskey half gone, the ice melting in his glass. But it does nothing to quiet the unease crawling up his spine. He knows he messed up. He just doesn't know how badly. Then, a knock at the door. Boyd frowns, setting his glass down. It's late. Too late. He moves to the door, gun instinctively within reach, then peeks through the peephole. Nothing. His brows knit together. Slowly, he unlocks the door, opening it just a crack. A package sits on his doorstep. Plain. Unmarked. No return address. A pit settles in his stomach as he crouches, hesitating before reaching out. He lifts the lid. Inside, nestled in a bed of black velvet, is a single bullet. His breath catches. His fingers shake as he picks it up. Something is engraved into the casing. He holds it up to the light. It's his badge number. The room suddenly feels too small. The walls too close. The air too thin. He shoves back, scrambling to his feet, his pulse hammering. He doesn't know how. He doesn't know when. But he knows who. Ethan Graves. And Boyd realizes he's already dead. Across the city, Vale's men close in. 4 of them. Muscle. Killers. Dressed to blend in, but moving with predatory intent. They track Ethan to a quiet street, where the neon fades and the alleyways run deep. He hears them before they speak, feels them before they move. He keeps walking. A step behind him, a voice calls out, "You're coming with us." Ethan stops. Slowly, he turns. They expect fear, resistance, questions, but he just watches them. Silent, measuring. The leader steps forward, knife glinting in the low light. Another cracks his knuckles. The third adjusts something beneath his jacket. A gun. A mistake. Because Ethan Graves doesn't flinch, doesn't hesitate, doesn't wait. The fight lasts 27 seconds. And when it's over, 4 men are down. 2 won't walk again. 1 won't breathe again. The last question mark, he's still alive, but just barely. Ethan crouches beside him, voice low, calm, deadly. "Tell Vale," he murmurs, gripping the man's collar. His words are the last thing the enforcer hears before he blacks out. He's next. Richard Vale knows one thing for sure. He cannot win against Ethan Graves in a fair fight, so he doesn't fight fair. Detective Jason Wyatt pulls into his driveway after a long shift, rubbing tired eyes as he steps out of his car. Something feels Off. The porch light is on. The front door is slightly ajar. His gut tightens. "Emily?" he calls out, stepping inside. "Claire?" No answer. His boots click against the hardwood floor as he moves deeper into the house. Too quiet. The TV is still on, frozen on some cartoon channel. His wife's coat is draped over the chair. His daughter's sneakers are by the door. Everything looks normal. Too normal. Then he sees it. The phone. Sitting perfectly in the center of the dining table. Face up. Screen on. Waiting. Wyatt doesn't even realize he's holding his breath as he steps closer. His hands shake as he picks it up. A message blinks on the screen. He taps it open. A photo loads. His wife and daughter. Bound. Gagged. Eyes wide with terror. His heart stops. Then the text appears. Graves surrenders, or they die. Wyatt's legs nearly buckle beneath him. His fingers tighten around the phone as if crushing it will somehow erase what he's just seen. He swallows hard, his pulse roaring in his ears. This isn't just a warning. It's a death sentence. For his family. For him. And for anyone who stands in the way of the storm that's coming. Detective Marcus Boyd is running. His breath is steady. His steps calculated. But his pulse? It's screaming. He knows what's coming. He's seen it before. Graves doesn't leave loose ends, so he does what he does best. Disappears. No phone. No credit cards. No trail. Just footsteps in the dark. Boyd ducks into an alley, sticking to the shadows, moving like a ghost through the maze of the city. He knows the right streets, the blind spots where cameras won't catch him. He's 2 turns from blending into the crowd, from vanishing. A hand clamps over his mouth. His scream never makes it out. He's yanked into the darkness. A steel grip crushes his windpipe, pinning him against the cold brick wall. Boyd thrashes, kicks, tries to fight, but it's useless. Then, a voice. "I warned you." Boyd's blood freezes. The pain comes next. A fist colliding with his ribs, cracking them like dry twigs. A boot slamming into his knee, twisting it the wrong way. The world spins as his body collapses. His hands, shattered. His face, unrecognizable. Darkness closes in. The next morning, a street sweeper finds Detective Marcus Boyd crumpled in an alley. Alive, but barely. Broken bones, swollen eyes, blood pooling beneath him. The real horror is on the wall beside him, scrawled in blood. Wyatt. Time's running out. Wyatt sees the message in person, his stomach twisting as officers swarm the scene. Boyd is barely conscious, groaning in pain as medics load him onto a stretcher. Someone steps beside him. Detective Laura Hayes. She exhales sharply, shaking her head. "Jesus, Wyatt. What the hell did you get us into?" Wyatt clenches his jaw. He knows the answer. This isn't just a warning. This is the beginning. And Graves? He's just getting started. The mansion looms like a fortress, gated, guarded, impenetrable. Or so they think. Inside, Richard Vale sits in his office, nursing a glass of whiskey. Smug, confident, untouchable. A tactical team patrols the halls. Armed men watching every entrance. Guard towers scanning the perimeter. Nothing gets in. Nothing gets out. And yet, they never see him coming. Nathan Graves moves like a shadow through the estate's back corridors. No wasted motion. No sound. Just death in the dark. A silenced round whispers through the air. A guard drops. Another steps into a hallway, yawning. A knife slides under his ribs, silencing the breath before it escapes. Nathan takes a gun from a fallen body, checks the magazine, fully loaded. Good. The storm has begun. It happens too fast. One guard turns the wrong corner and sees something he shouldn't. He barely has time to open his mouth. Bang! The shot echoes. Then, chaos. Alarms wail. Red warning lights flash. Security radios explode with voices shouting, "Intruder!" Second floor. Nathan doesn't run. He advances. A hallway erupts in gunfire. He ducks, rolls, returns fire. 2 more guards drop before they know what hit them. Heavy boots pound up the stairwell. Nathan reloads, turns, takes position behind an overturned table. Then, another voice. "Graves!" Nathan's gun snaps toward the sound. Detective Wyatt. Bleeding. Bruised. Outnumbered. But still standing. "You should have run." Nathan's voice is flat, emotionless. Wyatt wipes blood from his mouth, smirking despite the chaos. "Yeah, well, not my style." Nathan reloads. "Then let's finish this." They hit first. 2 armed guards kick open the door. Nathan moves before they even register he's there. His gun barks twice. 2 bodies hit the ground. Wyatt grabs one of their rifles, checking the ammo. How many? Nathan peeks through the bullet-riddled doorway. Too many. Then, the real siege begins. The stairwell floods with mercenaries. Vale's elite, combat-trained, heavy weapons. They expect a cornered man. What they get is a slaughter. Nathan fires down the hallway. Precise. Calculated. Wyatt follows suit, laying down cover fire as they retreat deeper into the mansion. Grenades explode, walls shatter. Smoke floods the corridors. Nathan and Wyatt move through the chaos like men who've done this before. Because they have. Wyatt's breathing is ragged. We need an exit. Nathan's eyes flick to the floor plan burned into his mind. South Hall, emergency tunnel. More gunfire, more bodies. They fight, and they win. But outside, Vale is watching, and he's ready. The mansion is a graveyard. Bodies litter the halls, the scent of gunpowder thick in the air. Nathan moves through the wreckage, his boots tracking blood across the marble floor. The echoes of battle fade. The hunt is over. Only one target remains. Richard Vale, the king of this empire of corruption. Now, just another man bleeding out in the dark. Nathan finds him slumped against his grand oak desk, one leg bent at an unnatural angle, blood seeping through his expensive suit. Vale's hand shakes as he fumbles for his pistol. Nathan kicks it away. Silence. Only the distant wail of sirens. The city finally catching up to the sins of its most powerful man. Nathan kneels, pressing a knife to Vale's throat. You should have left me alone. His voice is calm, certain, the voice of death. Vale laughs. Not the arrogant laugh of a man who thinks he's won. The laugh of a man who knows something you don't. You think this ends with me? He wheezes, blood bubbling on his lips. You think you're free? Nathan doesn't react. No anger, no curiosity, just pressure. The blade digs deeper. You don't get it, do you? Vale's voice weakens, but the smile remains. The real mastermind? He leans in, whispers one name. Adrian Holloway. Nathan stills. For the first time tonight, he hesitates. Because that name is a ghost. A specter from a past Nathan buried long ago. His former commanding officer. The man who trained him. The man who made him. And now, the man who wants him dead. Nathan steps back. His grip tightens. Vale's smirk never fades. Even as Nathan slashes the knife across his throat. A wet, gurgling sound. Then silence. Richard Vale is gone. The empire collapses. But the war has just begun. Nathan stands over the body, wiping the blade clean. But his mind is already elsewhere. Adrian Holloway. If he's pulling the strings, this isn't over. Not even close. The sirens grow louder. It's time to disappear. Nathan melts into the shadows. Because the next name on his list is the one name he swore he'd never have to hunt. The world had moved on. The news called it the Vale Massacre. A crime empire reduced to rubble. Its leader, Richard Vale, dead. Corrupt officials distanced themselves. The police department cleaned house. To the public, it was over. But Jason Wyatt knew better. Because monsters don't die that easily. And Nathan Cross, he isn't done. It happens on a quiet night. Wyatt comes home, his body aching from exhaustion. His mind stuck on everything that had happened. He drops his badge onto the kitchen table, pours himself a drink. Then, 3 knocks at the door. Slow, deliberate, the kind that send a chill crawling down your spine. Wyatt stiffens. The last time someone came looking for him unannounced, they had a gun in one hand and orders to kill. His instincts take over. His hand inches toward his holster as he moves toward the door. He takes a breath, peers through the peephole. Nothing, just darkness. And at his feet, a package. Small, nondescript, no return address. Wyatt doesn't move. He just stares at the box. Because deep down, he already knows. Nathan Cross. A ghost that refuses to stay buried. Wyatt sets the package on the table. A cold weight settles in his chest. He slices through the tape, peeling the flaps open. Inside, a military challenge coin. Heavy, well-worn. The kind that isn't just given, but earned. Etched into the metal. No masters, no chains. Beneath it, a USB drive. No labels, no markings. Wyatt clenches his jaw. Then he boots up his secure laptop, plugs in the drive. A single video file. No title, no timestamp. He clicks play. And there he is. Nathan Cross. Not a ghost, not a memory. A man who should be dead. The dim light in the video casts deep shadows across his face. His eyes are as cold as Wyatt remembers. His voice is calm, measured. I told you it was over. A pause. I lied. Wyatt leans forward, heart hammering. Nathan's expression is impossible to read. Veil was never the real power. The screen shifts, files, names, connections. And then, a face. Adrian Holloway. A name Wyatt had only ever heard in whispers. A man with no official record. No digital footprint. Just rumors of a ghost hiding in the world's darkest corners. Nathan's voice hardens. He trained me. His jaw tightens, something flickering behind his eyes. Regret. Resentment. He built me. Turned me into this. A pause. But now he's the problem. The screen floods with satellite images. Dossiers. Financial accounts. This isn't about revenge. Nathan's eyes lift. Through the screen, he looks straight at Wyatt. This is about stopping a war before it starts. The video cuts to black. No goodbye. No instructions. Just a decision. Wyatt leans back in his chair, breathing deep. Outside, the city hums with life. Oblivious. The world thinks it's safe, that the monsters are gone. But Wyatt? He knows better. Adrian Holloway wasn't just some ghost from Nathan's past. He was worse. A puppeteer pulling the strings of global chaos. And Nathan? Nathan wasn't hunting just one man. He was hunting an empire. And now Wyatt had a choice. Stay out of it. Keep his new life. Or step into the storm. Wyatt doesn't sleep that night. The challenge coin sits heavy in his palm. A symbol. A call to arms. He knows what it means. What Nathan is asking. The phone rings. A blocked number. Wyatt answers. A familiar voice speaks. You in? Wyatt looks around his darkened apartment. Then, without hesitation, I'm in.